Hello. In this chapter, we're going to be going through chapter 2 of Excel. So in the first chapter, you learned how to do some data entry. You learned how to do a little bit of formatting, how to type in some simple formulas. So with chapter 2, we're just going to be extending that knowledge, and we're going to be working with more formulas that are a little more advanced. We'll be adding some functions and doing a little bit more advanced formatting. So still not a hard chapter. You can see here are the objectives we're going to cover. We'll also go through spelling because Excel does not have spell check. We'll be doing some print previewing, some other things like that. So the project we're going to be doing, let me zoom in on this so you can see it. We're going to be creating a spreadsheet for Olivia's art supply. It's her salary report. So we'll be adding in the employees, email addresses, and all the information we need to do their salary report for them. So we'll be doing this together. Most of this we will not be typing. Most of this is going to be formulas. We're really only going to be typing about this much of it. So the rest of it will be calculated for you, which is one of the reasons why I really like Excel. I do want to go ahead and show you while we're looking at the book, this information here. So this is another picture in your book, and what this is just a sketched sheet. So before you start an Excel spreadsheet that you're creating on your own, such as you're going to do for your project at the end of the one we do together, I like to either sketch it out on paper or sketch it out in my head and picture exactly what's going to be going where and what I'm going to be, how it's going to be formatted. Maybe go ahead and like sketch in some of my formulas here. For example, gross pay, I wouldn't have to write the formula out per se, but I could just even put in here that that's hours worked times hourly rate of pay is how I'm going to calculate that, so that you have an idea kind of how you want your spreadsheet to look. I always think that's a good idea before you get started to kind of know where you're going, like your roadmap. So if you look here, this is telling you Olivia must be your boss. What she has said you need to do. You're going to need an easy to read worksheet that summarizes the company's salary report. Here's what you're going to need to include. The data that you're going to need to have before you start will be here. And here's the calculations that you're going to be using to calculate all of your taxes for your report. So this is what you got. So we're going to go ahead and get started in creating the salary reports. So we'll open up Excel. Mine opened on the other screen, and I was already working on something, so we're going to need a new blank worksheet. This one should not be taking us very long. So we're going to begin by typing in our title, which is Olivia's Art Supply. And it is the salary report. So just like in chapter 1 of Excel, we're going to be doing the same things, but I may not follow exactly the order the book has you doing them. Oops, I have a typo up here. So I can just double click into that cell and fix that. But I don't like to do the formatting until I get it all laid out, because if I add in another column or need to move something around after I've got it done, I have to redo my formatting. So I just think it's better to do the formatting at the end. We're going to go ahead and list in all of our column headings. So we'll have the employee's name, their email address. I'm just hitting tab to go between cells. The dependents. Now for hours worked. Okay, so let's go ahead and do autofit for column A, B, and C. Remember, autofit's just where you're coming up here between the two column heading names and you're double clicking with that double-headed arrow. Now, hours worked, we want to make this a stacked column, meaning hours needs to be on top of worked, and there's two different ways you can do that. So the first way you can see here, it's ran over, so it's overflowing the cell. But instead of doing autofit, what I can do is come up here to the alignment button that's on the home tab and click wrap text. And wrap text is going to wrap it around so that it's going to make it fit within your column width and stack it on top of each other. And I'll show you another way to do that with the next column. We're going to type hourly. This time, instead of just continuing to type, I'm going to press Alt-Enter, which is going to take me down, and I can type pay, Alt-Enter, and rate. Press Enter, and you can see that here it's stacked it. So that's two different ways to stack. You can do it however you want. So we'll just continue. The rest of them are not stacked. Again, I'm just going to auto fit my columns. I may have to do that again after we get all of our information in. Oops, I left out a letter. Okay, looks like we're all going to fit. I know that tax percentage is going to need to be bigger, so I'll just make it bigger. Okay, we're ready to type in all of our employees. So if you start in cell A4, we're going to start with Joanne Bennett. We're going to start with last name first. We have last name, comma, first name. Okay, so I've got my employees in. Make sure that they're all still fitting in my column. Next, I'm going to do email addresses. So to do the email address, I'm going to type in the first one. It looks like the pattern is going to be first initial last name at email.com. So this would be J Bennett at email.com. Press enter. Now you'll notice that turned it blue because I went ahead and created the hyperlink. So whatever you do, make sure you don't accidentally click on it because it will try to open up your email, but it'll open up your Microsoft email, which we don't have installed. And so then it's going to give you an error message. So if you get that, you just have to cancel out of it. The next one we'll do, looks like his last name's Fred. So it's going to be M Fred. Okay. We're going to try and use something so we don't have to type all these in. And what we're going to try and use is called Flash Bills. So that's on your data tab. And I'm going to come over here to Flash Fill. And what Flash Fill does is it's automatically going to fill values based on a pattern that Excel sees you're doing. So hopefully Excel is going to see that how our emails are working. Now this sometimes it works and sometimes I can't get it to work, so we'll hit the button. Oh, there it did. But you'll notice it also tried to give Olivia and the salary report an email too. So I may just have to come up here and delete those out. If this did not work for you, try another one and do it again. Sometimes it doesn't work and you just have to type them all in. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and auto fit that again. Moving over to dependents, this is just going to be some data entry. Okay, make sure you get those correct. Hours worked. And you could be going across or you could go up and down data entry wise. Sometimes it's easier to go down, but it doesn't matter. We actually flip to the other page. So you can type this based on my screen, or if you look at page EX63, it will give you all the numbers there. Okay, and I'm going to need their hourly pay rate, how much they make per hour. Oops. Okay, I'm just going to look back through to kind of double check those. Okay, and then we're going to come over and do the hire date. So whenever I type in the date, I'm just going to type, for example, this one is April the 5th of 2012. I'll type 4/5/12. I don't even have to type in the 2000. It put it in there. So again, 5/7/13 is how I'm typing these. If yours format's a little bit different, that's okay, because we're going to change the formatting here in just a little bit. I will tell you, if you learn how to use your number key on the side without looking, that's going to make this data entry process a whole lot easier. Okay, so we have basically got most of it typed. We're going to go ahead and put in some things down here that we're going to find, because we want to find the total, the highest, the lowest, and the average. Okay. All right. So we've got everything typed in. Let's go ahead and, I said usually we do our formatting at the end, but we can go ahead and format this a little bit through here as we go. For example, hours worked. Let's go ahead and highlight that, because we want all of those to look the same. Just flip to my book to see how we want it to look. So we're going to have 2 decimal places for all of those. You can see how some of them have 2 and some have none. So on my home tab, I will just go ahead and click my increase. Oh, that was the indent button. Let me hit undo. That's not the one I want. Over here in the number area, I want to increase my decimal and decrease it. So because they weren't starting all the same, some had to increase and some had to decrease. Once you hit it the first time, it will make them all the same. So make sure you get 2 decimals there. Hourly pay rate, we're also going to want that to be formatted with 2 decimal places. Okay. And because this is money, we could actually come up here and hit the comma style, which I think is what the book's going to have us do. Okay. And then the hire date. There's a couple different ways you can format dates. You can see how it automatically formatted that for us. We're going to come up here and hit the launcher button in the number group. And we're going to make sure we're in the category of date. And there's several different ways you can format your date. The book wants us to format it with the month having 2 digits, the day having 2 digits, and the year having 2 digits. So it looks like it says 03/14/12, and hit OK. And now those are all formatted the same. All right. So let's go ahead and do some of our formulas. So for gross pay, if you look on page 66, flip to mine, you're going to see some of your arithmetic operations. So just like what you may have learned like in an algebra class, Excel also uses order of operations. So it would use negatives, percentages, and then exponents, then multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So remember, as you're writing formulas, that it is going to follow order of operations. So you may have to put your parentheses in to tell it what exactly you're wanting to do. Okay, then on page 69, nope, sorry, page 65. That's still not it. I don't know. So I was going to tell you where all your formulas were, but you can just follow along with me because I'm not seeing where those are listed at. Okay. So you can follow along in the book, but you're just going to have to go, it looks like, from page to page to get your formulas, or you can just follow along with me. So gross pay. Gross pay is just your hours worked times your hourly pay rate. So just like we learned in chapter 1, we're going to start a formula with an equal sign, and then we just point to the number we want in our math problem. So hours worked times hourly pay rate. Again, it's color coding it, so we know we're going to take the blue times the red. Press enter. And you should get, I was just going to double check the book, $12,068.94. Now, mine went ahead and rounded to 2 places. Yours may not be doing that. So you can go ahead and increase your decimal or decrease your decimal until you get it to 2 places. Okay, we've got that formula. We're just going to fill it down. Now we have the gross pay for all of our employees. Federal tax. Federal taxes, the government would give you a formula or a book that you need to look at to figure federal tax. For our example, we have to pay 22% of our gross income in federal tax, but the government is going to give us a break. We're going to get a deduction of $24.32 per dependent. So for every dependent, we get to subtract $24.32 off of what we are going to have to pay for that. So the way we're going to figure this, we're going to have to use our parentheses. So we're going to go with 0.22 times, parentheses. In parentheses, we're going to take the gross pay, which is your F4. Oh, I didn't put an equal sign. That's what didn't, why it didn't know I was doing a formula. Now let's do it. So equal 0.22 times parentheses F4 minus the number of dependents times 24.32 parentheses. Now the first thing we wanted to do is to multiply the number of dependents times 24.32. Then we want it to subtract that number from the gross pay and multiply the whole thing by 0.22. So with order of operations and parentheses, that's what's going to happen. Press enter. The first person should owe, it looks like $268.47. Again, if this is not rounding to 2 decimal places, go ahead and move your decimals to make it 2, and we'll fill that one down. Okay, next, state tax. This was an easy one. The government just says we have to pay 4% of our gross pay in our state tax. So just equal gross pay times 0.04. Enter. Looks like we owed $50.76. Again, 2 decimal places, and then fill it down. Okay, tax percentage. We want to know, out of our gross pay, how much of our income is going to taxes. That's always a scary number to find out. So what we're going to end up doing is we would just take the federal tax plus the state tax and divide that by the gross pay. So equal, we have to use our parentheses to make our order of operations work. Federal tax, which is G4, plus state tax, which is H4, close parentheses, and divide by our gross pay, which is F4. Again, it's color coding it so that we can find what it is that we've done to make sure it's working right. Press enter. And mine comes out to 0.25. Yours may be a little bit longer, but let's go ahead and just make this a percentage because we know it's going to be a percentage. So I'm going to click on that number and come up here to my number format group and hit percent. And that changed it to 25%. And let me see how many decimals places we're going to want there. Looks like we want to have 2 decimal places. So I'm going to increase my decimal so that it is 25.16%. Okay. Next is the net pay. Net pay is how much do I get to take home? So it's going to be my gross pay minus all of my taxes. So equal gross pay minus parenthesis federal tax plus state tax, close parenthesis, and enter. So it looks like we get to take home $949.71 out of our paycheck. Let's go ahead and fill these down. Okay, look here, we got our hashtags or pound signs or number signs or whatever you want to call them. All that means is my column isn't big enough, so I just do auto fit and it fits. Now on the percent one, I want you to go ahead and drag this one down. Right now we're going to get an error message. That's okay because there's no totals over here for it to look at, but we will need that in here in a little bit. So there we have all of those totals in. Let's go ahead and start at the bottom totals. So we don't need to know the number of dependents, but we do want to know the total hours worked. So in D13, I'm just going to hit auto sum. It's going to add those up. Make sure that it is just adding what it is that we want. So right here in this group, and hit enter. Okay, hourly pay rate, we're not going to add that one. We're going to leave it blank. We do want to find the total for gross pay. Auto sum, double check to make sure it's adding the correct information. Federal tax, we'll get the total for it. Okay, and the reason why we went ahead and put this percentage here, we did not total the column, is because if we would have added these percents up, they would have come up to over 100%, which is really not what we were wanting to see. We were wanting to see, on average, what is the total tax percentage paid by employees. Okay, we're going to come down here to the highest. We do want to find the highest number of dependents. We could easily look and see that answer's 3. But if we had pages of employees, we wouldn't want to look through that. So we're just going to come up here to auto sum. We're going to find the max. Now you can see here it is actually highlighting this blank cell. We just want it to be finding C4 through C12. Press enter. Go ahead and find the lowest for the same column. So this time we'll do to men. Again, it's highlighted the wrong thing, so we have to re-highlight so that we get C4 through C12 and the average. Highlight, redo it, so we get C4 through C12 and enter. Okay, we can look at these on the dependents and see, yep, highest is 3, the lowest is 0, and the average, yeah, probably about 1.22222. We'll go ahead and just fill this all the way across. Okay, we do not need this average here that's under the tax percentage. We'll go ahead and delete that one out. All right, so I know those are formatted a little bit differently, and we will fix that formatting. So let's go ahead. We have basically got our spreadsheet all done. Now we're just ready to work on our formatting. So we'll go ahead down here at the bottom. We want to make these, oh, I skipped a step. Let me get to the right spot so I don't skip it. Okay. Formatting. First of all, we're going to change the theme of our workbook. So the theme, just like we had a theme in Word, Microsoft has decided different fonts and colors that go well together. So to do that, we're going to go to the page layout tab. And over here we have themes. And there's different themes you can pick. I think the book has us using Ion, so I'm going to choose it. But if you don't have Ion showing up, just choose something else. You'll see how it's kind of formatted that for us. You could choose different colored schemes. So if you worked for a company, you could actually customize your colors, and then everything for your company would be customized for you. All right, next we're going to do our Olivia's art supply, and we want to merge this one across our whole way across. So A1 through K1, and on the home tab, we're going to merge and center. We'll go ahead and do the same thing with the subtitle salary report. Oh, I got an extra column in there on that one, so I'm going to hit undo, try salary report again. Remember, whenever you're selecting, you're using the white plus sign. Whenever you're filling, you use the black. Try merge and center now. There we go. Okay, so to format Olivia's art supply, it says we're actually going to come over here to our cell styles, and we're going to pick title style. We also want to pick title style for the salary report, and we're going to make that a little bit smaller, so I'm just going to come up here and hit my decrease font button. Then I want to color the background for these to make them stand out, so I'm going to highlight A1 and A2, and we're going to fill those, so that's the paint bucket. And we want to choose the blue-gray accent 5. This is the blue-gray column, accent 5, lighter 60%. So it looks like it's that one right there. As I hover over the colors, it gives them to me. Okay, so we've got that one done. Next, let's go ahead and format row 3, which is our column headings. We're going to come up here to cell styles, and we want to choose, make sure I get the right one. Heading 3. Okay. Oh, I missed a step. Let's go ahead and add a border around this box here. So I'm going to highlight A1 and A2 again, and we're going to go to our border button. And we want to do a thick outside border. If I click off of that, you can see I've got the border here. You can't really see it on the top. That's just because it's cutting it off, but it is truly there. Okay, let's go ahead and center these in row 3 too. So we'll go ahead and hit the center button there. Okay, next we're going to go to the bottom to the total row. I'm going to highlight the total row all the way across, which is A13 through K13. We're going to apply the total style, so cell styles and total. And then let's go ahead and bold these words over here because those are actually labels, so we'll just make those bold. All right, so we're starting to look better. We want to come up here now, and we want to format some of these because some of these are not dollars currency and some of them are not. So let's go ahead and do that because whenever we're working in a spreadsheet, typically you add the dollar currencies or the dollar signs to the top row and to your total rows. So dependents, let's go ahead and center that column. Hours worked is not dollars, so we're going to leave it alone, but we're going to go to hourly pay rate. And let's just do these all at once. So I'm going to click on E4, hold Control, get F4, G4, H4, J4, and let's grab the corresponding totals at the bottom. So we'll get F13, G13, H13, and J13. Okay, so I've got the ones at the top row, which should be dollars, and the ones in the total row, which should be dollars. I'm just going to come up here and hit my dollar sign, and it's going to add a dollar sign. Some of these columns may need to be adjusted so that it all fits. Okay. So we're starting to look better. Probably ought to come down here to the bottom and make these a little more uniform also. So we want to go ahead and center these numbers underneath dependents because the rest of the column was centered. It looks like hours worked needs to have 2 decimal places. Actually, let's go ahead and do all of these. Anything that would have 2 decimal places or currency, let's go ahead and do that. So I could just hit the comma style, and it adds, a comma style will add 2 decimal places and add commas in whenever you get into the thousands. These numbers here should be a percentage, so I'll highlight those and hit the percent button. Again, I'm going to match what I already had, so I'm going to increase my decimal by 2. And then it wants us to add some other dollar signs down here in the bottom. So it actually wants us to add dollar signs next to everything in the hourly pay rate in the bottom below the total column. Actually, all of these numbers that are not percentages or in the hours worked, we're going to add a dollar sign. Now, we're going to do it differently. This time, instead of hitting the dollar sign, which is the accounting format number sign, which means that it's going to put a fixed dollar sign, which it's always going to be over here at the left of the column, no matter how many digits are in the number, it will always be all the way at the left. This time we want to do, if we come here and hit the launcher button, we can come to currency, and we're going to do the currency dollar sign. So we're going to have 2 decimal places. We want a dollar sign for our symbol. And for the negative numbers, we're going to choose the third one down, which is the parentheses black. So all of these are ways that you can type a negative number um, in accounting styles, but we're going to choose the parentheses black and hit OK. So here you can see these are now floating dollar signs, so they are right next to your first digit, so it doesn't matter how many digits there are. For example, here it's just going to be right next to the first number. Okay. The next formatting we want to do is some conditional formatting. We want to look at our hours worked, and we want it to highlight for us everybody who worked over 72 hours, because then I'm apparently going to have to pay you overtime. So I want it to draw attention to that. Whenever I used to keep my grade book in Excel, it would highlight for me automatically students who had a grade below, say, a 60%, because I knew you were failing, and that would be I needed to look at that, maybe contact you and let you know for sure that you knew. So hours worked, I'm going to highlight D, what is that? D4 through D12. And this time I'm going to go to conditional formatting. And there is all kinds of fun conditional formatting you can do in here. We're just going to go down to new rule, and we're going to write a new rule for it. So under our new rule, we want to format cells that are above, nope, not that one, based on their value. Just a second. Format cells that contain. There, that looks right. Format only cells that contain. So we want a cell value that is greater than 72. And how do we want that to look? So we're going to hit the format button. We want the color of that one to be white. And then we're going to go over here to the fill, and we're going to choose this blue color up here at the top. You go back to everything else should be looking okay. Hit OK there. It's going to show you. So any cell value that's greater than 72, it's automatically going to make it this blue-green color and with white font. Hit OK. You should now look at that and see, yep, everybody over 72 has been highlighted for us. If I change the number, say this number 60 changed to 90, it would highlight it. You also notice it changed all your totals, so nothing has to change. I'm going to put that back to 60. Okay. And so we have been changing column widths based by autofit. Now this tax is a little wide. So you can actually, if you drag here, you can set your column width based to a certain thing, where see at the top where it says that column width is 10.10. So you could do that. Let's go ahead and change our column widths according to what the book wants it. So we're going to change columns A, B, and C. So I'm just going to click on the A through C up here. So I've highlighted all three of those columns. I can change them all at one time. So I'm just going to point here to the C where I get the double-headed arrow, and we're going to do those best fit. So I'm just going to double click. Okay, all three of those columns are now best fit. Next, we're going to change D, E, and I. So D, E, and I hold Control to select non-adjacent cells. And it looks like I want those to be exactly 7.5. So if I drag next to one. Now, if you can't get exactly on 7.5, that's okay. Get as close as you can. Mine won't do it. Okay. If your column, if by doing that you get the pound signs in here or your words are cut off, make it as big as it needs to be. Do not leave it not fitting just because you were trying to follow the column widths that said in the book. Okay, next we want to do F through G. And we also want to get J and K, so I'm going to hold Control. And those columns I want to be an 11, or as close as you can get to an 11. So just like we did columns, we can also do row heights. So here on row 4, I want to drag down, sorry, so row 4, Okay, yep. So between 3 and 4, no. 1, 2, 3. So the book has me doing this a little bit differently. Okay, so between 4 and 5 is where I really want to be, I believe. Yep. And I'm going to drag down. That's going to add a little bit of room, be above Joanne Bennett. And I actually want that to be at 48. So I'm going to drag that until it gets to 48 or as close as my computer will allow it. Okay, so that just added some more room above her name. Oops, hit undo. I told you wrong. It did actually want us in here between 3 and 4. We'll make that 48 because they wanted this to be a little bit bigger apparently. Okay, and then there was one more I thought I wanted us to change, row 14. So point to the boundary below row 14, right here below it, so between 14 and 15, and drag that to 27. Okay, so that just added a little bit more room after that total row. Okay, so I said that Excel does not do spell check like Word did. So first of all, we're done. Does that look good? There's just a few more things I want to point out and show you. So we're going to go to our review tab and we're going to check our spelling here. Okay, it always starts from wherever you are. So if it says you want to begin from the beginning of the sheet, hit yes. Just make sure that you have spelled everything correctly. Change it if you've misspelled it. If it's a name, you probably have it correct, and so you probably need to ignore the name. Looks like I did a bad job spelling this time. So once you're done, good. There's also some other things. Excel does a lot of super advanced things. You can actually protect your workbook or protect part of it. So I could actually go in here and say that people can only change the number of hours worked so that nothing else in another employee could come in, change the hours worked, but they cannot mess up my formula. So I could actually just do protect the whole workbook, but allow them to make edits. It would then give me a password for that. Okay. Next, we're going to look at printing. So I want us to go to the page layout tab here. So under page layout, we've already been here once, but here's some page setup with margins, orientation, size, print area, where you want your page to break, print tiles. Another thing you can do is come down here to the bottom where I'm in the normal. I'll zoom in a little bit. Sometimes whenever you zoom, it makes hashtags, so make sure you always fix those. And I can hit the next one, which is the print layout, and it's actually going to show me what my page would look like printed. So first of all, this is going to cut it in the middle between two pages. That's not what we want. So we're actually going to do, we can change everything here, or you can go to page setup and change everything. So let me just show you real quick. If I hit the launcher button, here's all the little different boxes we can change. We're actually going to do it right up here in the page setup area. So first of all, my orientation, let's make that landscape. Give it a second. Still didn't fit. So let's go to scaling. Here it is, width is automatic and height is automatic, and the scale is 100. We can actually make the width so it only fits on one page. Now it's going to shrink it down to whatever size it needs to be. You could also tell it that you wanted to view grid lines or print grid lines. If you hit print, then those grid lines are going to print. Typically, we don't. Those are some things to see. You can also just print a selected area by just highlighting certain areas. Let's go ahead and hit this print setup launcher button because there's more things in here I do want to show you. Here's where we did the fit to one. We could have it fit to 1 by 1, so it's always on one page. But if you go to your margins tab, we don't have to fix our margins because it's all going to fit on the page because we told it to, but this is where you're going to find center horizontally and center vertically. So it would center it directly in the center of your page. Header and footer, we can type those up here or you can put them in here. I think it's easier back here on this page, so we're going to do it that way. And sheet, this is where you can tell it whether to print the grid lines. Rows to repeat at the top. If this was going to go on several different, it's like very long and we had lots of employees, we may want this row 3 to print at the top of every page. So we could actually come in here and tell it to print row 3. Okay. Then whenever I did, everything would print. We're going to not put that in, but we could. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK there. This is what it's going to look like printed. Let's go ahead and add our header. So over here on the left, I want you to put your first initial and last name. In the center, let's call this Olivia's Art Supply. And then let's call it her salary report. Okay. Actually, I'm going to take out this Olivia's Art Supply. Let's actually make this Excel chapter 2. So we know. Down here at the footer, I can scroll down to the footer. Oh, it's not going to, there it is. I always like to add the date and time whenever I print out a spreadsheet because a lot of times you print spreadsheets more than once. So I'm down here in the footer. I can hit this design tab, which gives me all the different options I could put in here. I want to go ahead and add my current date and my current time. Some other things we'll go ahead and put in over here on this side. Let's go ahead and add the file name. So it's just going to look like this, but it's going to print whatever you've named your file. And in the center, let's put the sheet name. Okay, that's going to show me what your sheet tab name was. All right, go back to your home tab. And let's go ahead and go back to regular normal view. A couple more things I want to show you. Mine is taking just a little bit to get there. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and name our sheet tab. Down here where it says sheet 1, we can double click on that. And let's name it. I know the book told me at the very beginning of the chapter. Salary report. And I'm going to click off of it and then right click on it and change the color. Tab color, and let's make it this blue-green color. Okay. What else did I want to show? Okay, so just a few more things here. These are not even in the book, but I do think that they are important. If you go up here to your formulas, I'm going to just click here in my net pay box. So in J4, go ahead and click there. If I go to my formula tab, this is another place where you can find all those formulas, such as your auto sum. If you're doing financial things, you can click here on financial, and it gives you lots of different functions, formulas that are already written depending on what you're doing. There's date and time functions, math and trig. Here is some options. Trace precedence. So if I click this, this is going to show me to get this net pay, everything here with the blue, those are information that I have to put in before I can figure out what the net pay for this person was. And then trace dependence is going to show me if this number's wrong, these numbers down here are also going to be wrong because they rely on this one. So we know where all this information comes from because we typed it in, but if you're looking at a spreadsheet someone else sent you, these auditing things can be really great because it's going to show you where did they get that information from. Okay. And it looks like that's going to be it. So let me go ahead and turn those up. Oh. Okay. And if you went back home and left those on, so it doesn't really matter there. Let me see. Formulas. I want to turn them off. Remove arrows. Okay. So I do want to go ahead and explain a little bit about your assignment for chapter 2. Let me show you that. Oh, here it is. So chapter 2, you've done your Olivia's Art Supply for the 10 points for doing that one with me. Be sure you do name it. Here's where you're going to name it. And then your next assignment is not in the book. It is a calorie counting project. So what you're going to do is you are going to be creating a spreadsheet that is based on I'll be putting, looks like I'm missing some of the instructions here. I'll put those in. Actually, here they are. Calorie counting project. Okay, let me click on that one and open it up for you. That is your scoring guide that you're seeing here. Oh, it makes me download it first. Just a second. And we'll open that. So basically, you're going to be creating a spreadsheet based on a meal you might get at a fast food restaurant. My Word is opening. It is kind of slow. And open on the other screen. Okay. Bring that over here and I'll make it bigger. Okay, so you are going to be choosing 3 different restaurants that you might get a meal from. Typically fast food restaurants, McDonald's, Wendy's, Hardee's, Burger King, Taco Bell. You're going to be picking 3 different meals. Your meal is going to include a sandwich or a main dish, a salad, okay, sandwich, salad, or other main dish, a side dish such as French fries or whatever, a drink, and a dessert. So you're getting the whole meal deal from 3 different restaurants. You're going to be setting up your spreadsheet so that you can track how many calories are going to be in each of those items. It's telling you here that here's a nutritiondata.com that you can go to, but a lot of websites like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's will have the nutrition information right there on their website. For each item in your menu, I don't need to know what sandwich you got, just I need to know that that's your main dish. And your side dish and your drink, I don't need to know exactly what it is you're eating. So you would have a column or a row, however you set it up for those. And then you're going to tell me how many calories are in each of those items. Then you're going to look at your next restaurant, tell me how many calories are in each of those items, and your third restaurant. You'll calculate your total calories per restaurant that you would have for that meal. And then include the average, minimum, and maximum for your meal or for your dishes. So if you had your restaurants going across, or restaurants listed here, and then over here you have how many is in your main dish, side dish, whatever. Down here you might have what is your average main dish calorie count? What is the total? What is the lowest? Or sorry, what is the average? What is the maximum? What is average, highest, lowest? That's what I'm trying to say. So for my main dish, where is it I should be eating my main dish at? For my side dish, where should I be eating? Because I've got those average, highest, and lowest calculated here. I know how many total calories I'm eating per meal at each restaurant. Make sure that you add some pictures to it. So maybe pictures of some of the things you've chosen to eat. Make sure you add color and style to make it attractive. You are also going to be including a chart. So the chart can be a bar chart, a pie chart. It can chart whatever it is that you want it to chart. This is your choice. But you're basically, you can chart total calories per, so like if I ate a McDonald's compared to Burger King compared to Taco Bell, might be a way I could do it. However you want to set that up, make sure you add a header and a footer to your chart and the spreadsheet. Make sure it's all going to print on one page. Here is the scoring guide. So title, a subtitle, your 3 restaurants with your choices. You've got to add pictures. You need to have calculated totals, average, min, max. Make sure you have your charting with your title and labeling placed on another sheet tab. Add a header and footer on both sheets. Make sure it's formatted and attractive. Okay, so that is your project you're doing on your own. So that is chapter 2. Again, if you have any questions, be sure and ask. And good luck with that. We only have 1 chapter left of Excel.